Psychics, mediums, channelers, magicians, witches, sorcerers. They all have something in common. Outside of what humans are actually capable of, I do believe humans have abilities that could be rendered as psychic or extrasensory perception. However, it seems to some people that many, if not most of these people who claim to have these abilities are getting assistance from demonic spirits or entities. Now notice, I did not say aliens, I did not say human ghost, and I did not say angels or guardian angels. Now, this is not exclusive to practicing psychics, magicians, self-proclaimed alien hybrids, etc. This also includes some A-list celebrities and musicians. How many of you have seen the documentary called They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll? It's basically a film about how demon spirits are the masters behind some of the top musicians and how this is set up to influence our youth. And I want to discuss this because there is nothing new under the sun. And these spirits have been doing the same thing for thousands of years. They are master influencers, and their ability to fool people is uncanny. For this presentation, I'm going to focus mainly on magicians as an example, and the most impressive tricks that are commonly performed by illusionists or magicians. Mind reading, invincibility, levitation, teleportation, and transposition. I do believe that sometimes what you are seeing is not just a mere trick or illusion, but real magic. I know that there are people out there who wish to summon spirits, practice performing ritual ceremonies. They actively seek the assistance and knowledge of these dark entities. And not many people know this, but sometimes those demon spirits will just ignore those people and their rituals. Why? Because you don't really get to pick and choose demons. No, they pick you. So this is the very lovely Marina Serene. And I can tell you, oh yeah, these spirits are definitely into her. They're into pretty women with long hair, not so much because they like them, but because men like them. Okay? She is a psychic medium, channeler, and ET contactee. I want to read to you a little bit of her story. And I want you to think about if you've heard this story before. Listen to this. In the year 2015, when I was 15 years old, the wake-up call encoded in my DNA activated, and I started my path of spiritual awakening and the recovery of my memories. I started to receive intense downloads on the structure of consciousness and the existence and information about what is really going on Earth. What is the real history of mankind? And what is my mission here? At that time, I observed my starseed hybrid nature as well as the indigo crystal energy of my aura. I started to experience strongly the awakening of my psychic abilities and ancient knowledge, activated DNA codes placed by other beings, remembered by my hybrid genetic implants and my role in the first contact event. I was starting to be visited by ED entities, guides, counterparts, and star families. I would meet them in the dream time. I would travel to their planet. I would recall some of my ET and Earth past lives. I would be taught in spacecraft schools about psychic abilities and metaphysics, as well as spiritual guidance. I would also start to experience consciously my contribution to the hybrid programs. After an intense sexual encounter with my Palladian counterpart and after meeting my alien hybrid children on ships. I have currently left the gray hybrid programs, and I am only working now with the ones created by humanoid ETs, which are not agenda-based, contrary to the others. Star seeds, DNA, travel, sexual encounter, alien gray. I'm just using this as an example of what typically happens when someone is being followed around by evil spirits their entire lives. Within this system that we live in, there is also a demonic system that has influence of military and other professionals, which is why people like Marina will more often than not be gang stalked or targeted as well. These spirits have like a hive mind when it comes to communication. So wherever you are, they know you. Do you see? And yes, they do know who is more genetically suited for what some may call infestation. I'm not talking about possession. That is something different and a bit more complex. I'm talking about them just hanging around people, speaking to them, speaking through them all the time. And they are patient, oh, so patient. They will hang around for years. Then one day when you're vulnerable, here they come. So this is one end of the spectrum when it comes to spirit helpers, but they are all the same dark spirits. So on the other end of the spectrum, we have the witch, we have the sorcerer, who are not hard to understand if they are into real witchcraft, who may have no problem dealing with demonic spirits, more so in private. But in public, we have the musician, actors as well, sometimes artists and engineers, and we have the magician. You see, magicians will often demonstrate their existence. Get it? Demonstrate? Anyway, the reason I am presenting all this is because I want to warn you. Because witchcraft is going to spread out. It is going to increase. New cults are going to form, mainly due to an increase in UFO talk and phenomena, and cosmic phenomena, which is going to drive people into a new kind of worship. I'm telling you, this is going to happen. It has already begun. I believe in good spirits. It wouldn't make sense to believe that only evil spirits exist. But I also believe that what people are interacting with are mostly evil spirits, as good spirits are just doing their job. Do you see? Good spirits do what they are supposed to do. With that said, these evil spirits are not entertainers. Manny P. Hall, the Canadian author, lecturer, mystic, discusses the magician. Some understanding of the intricate theory and practice of ceremonial magic may be derived from a brief consideration of its underlying premises. First, the visible universe has an invisible counterpart, the higher planes of which are peopled by good and beautiful spirits. The lower planes, dark and foreboding, are the habitation of evil spirits and demons under the leadership of the fallen angel and his princes. Second, by means of the secret processes of ceremonial magic, it is possible to contact these invisible creatures and gain their help in some human undertaking. Good spirits willingly lend their assistance to any worthy enterprise, but the evil spirits serve only those who live to pervert and destroy. Third, it is possible to make contracts with spirits whereby the magician becomes for a stipulated time the master of an elemental being. Fourth, true black magic is performed with the aid of a demonical spirit who serves the sorcerer for the length of his earthly life, with the understanding that after death the magician shall become the servant of his own demon. For this reason, a black magician will go to inconceivable ends to prolong his physical life, since there is nothing for him beyond the grave. Manny P. Hall even talks about how a typical contract works in ceremonial black magic, where the magician must sign the pact with their own blood. The demon will fulfill their end of the pact as long as the magician does not fail. So the demon may say something like, "I cannot accede to your request nor fulfill it, unless after 50 years you give yourself to me, body and soul, to do with as I may please." Or according to Manny Hall, a spirit may say, "I will remain in your service as long as on every Friday morning you will go forth upon the public street giving alms in the name of Lucifer. The first time you fail in this, you belong to me." And so what happens is when these magicians get deeply involved with this, they end up trying to find ways to extend their life so that they don't have to pay up in the end. And the demon is doing everything it can to prevent the magician from upholding their end of the bargain. They want the magician to break that contract. The spirit doesn't sign the pact, the magician does. So if the spirit breaks the contract, nothing happens, but if the magician breaks the contract, all bets are off, and the spirit could end up just getting rid of them. Some magicians may make a pact where they have to bring a human soul as an offering to the prince of demons. If the magician does not, then they forfeit their own soul. And they have to do this every year. I'm not saying magicians do this, it's just an example of the extent to where this could go. There is a magician named Stephen Frame, aka Dynamo. And there is an audio from someone who's supposed to be a friend of his stating that before his success, Dynamo went out into the woods to worship spirits for some time and came back with supernatural abilities that advanced his success as a performer. Now, some people will say, well, demons don't exist, so no. Dynamo doesn't use demons and neither does any other magician. And there are some magicians who will say, of course not. We don't use demons. It's just a trick. It's not real. Well, here's the thing. There are occultists and magic practitioners who know about demonology, and they know by watching the performances of some of these magicians, they know the names of the demons that are being used. Now, I would never recite or name these demons here or in private, but some people who have watched Dynamo can tell you that he is probably using several demons for his acts, such as the spirits that can put a genie in a bottle, placing objects inside of things. There is another spirit for the levitation tricks. There is something called transposition, where the spirit takes two objects and makes them trade places. They can also teleport objects, which is why in an infestation, let's say someone has one of these spirits in their home, it may teleport small objects, and people find their keys missing, their lighters, necklaces, and other small objects go missing and then end up somewhere out of the way where you couldn't have possibly placed it. If a magician did summon a spirit to assist in their performances, they only have to do that once. They don't have to keep invoking the spirit. Mike Super is one of the few who actually wants you to believe that there is a spirit helping him. He calls him Desmond. And he says, hey, Desmond has been around him his whole life, and if Desmond doesn't show up, there is no magic show. There was a magician after World War II, Nooraldeeen, who would have himself impaled with large swords, through vital organs, mind you. He said that he was instructed by guardian angels about what to do and what to say. Now, these demons will stick around until they have had their fill, and they will just get rid of you after they are done. In the case of Nooraldeeen, they tricked him into eating a steel needle, which he died from 10 days later. The voices instructed him to do this. Mi moneda, which is an anagram for I'm demon. See? So for people who deny that they use demons, they certainly want you to think so with all their occult imagery and props, etc. David Blaine, a well-known magician, endurance artist, showman, is guilty of this too. Now, he doesn't admit to using spirits. Most of them won't admit to it and even deny it, as they are sworn to secrecy, with the left-hand path eye of chaos drawn on his palm. You know, a chaos magician is one who paradigm shifts. They base their magic on beliefs that are not set in stone. It's like what Blaine says in his interviews. He is always talking about pushing the limits, mind over matter. And in the realm of speculation, he may be into chaos magic, because you can do pretty much what you want to do. Without admittance, all we have is audio and video. The magician will always just claim secrecy and leave you to believe whatever you want to believe. Now, how many of you have heard of the magician Yif? Now, this guy seems to be in the habit of recreating biblical wonders, such as parting water, turning water into wine, pulling bread out of nowhere. And some would say this is done to misrepresent people like Jesus and Moses as just mere magicians. Now, there are people out there who pride themselves on exposing and explaining these tricks, and there are parts of the trick, like forcing a playing card, that absolutely can be easily set up. However, the highlight of the trick, the prestige, is often awfully explained. You have the pledge, the turn, and then the prestige. And when you hear someone explain a trick, you think to yourself, well, that is one way the trick could be done, but that is not exactly what you witnessed. Sometimes those explanations don't make any sense in their complexity. You still have questions. There is an interesting video series out called Demon Magicians. You may be able to find it on YouTube. And then there is the old documentary, They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll. You can check those videos out if you're interested in learning more about this. You know, a lot of these magicians have this look in their face. It's often dark eyes, dark hair. Even when their hair is blonde. I mean, it could be them adopting a certain look to play the part. But like I said before, for a group that mostly wants you to believe that they are not using demons, they do a bad job of convincing you of that. Of course, a lot of what you do see are just tricks, and sometimes done just for the cameras, you see? But I do suspect that there is another side, only known to the performer. That's why they call it the craft. There is more to come, so please stay tuned. You can check out woodwardentertainment.com and the Woodward Entertainment Store. You can also follow me on Instagram at JAEWoodward. God bless everyone and take care. And as always, stay awake, stay aware, stay safe. And I'll talk to you all soon.